hunger is a real thing. One strategy that has worked really well for me is to generally be cognizant of just the degree of palatability of the food that I'm eating. And I try to avoid foods that are hyper palatable. Mm-hmm. I'm not restricting myself, but I am aware that hyper palatable foods tend to beg for their overconsumption.
They're crack.
Yeah.
I straight up I'm like, don't eat the crack. I'll say that to my husband. He's like, don't eat that, Tyna. Or I'll say it to him, don't eat, that's crack.
Like a piece of lean chicken breast on it with a heavy cream sauce. I mean, suddenly you're making a lean chicken breast hyper palatable. But just by removing the sauce and using a dry rub spice instead, I mean, you're not making it any less tasty, but you are reducing the palatability to a degree that's going to make it less likely that you're going to want to overconsume that food. Yeah. And you could apply that to pretty much everything. I mean, you take a baked potato. I love to eat a plain baked potato. I'll sprinkle some salt on it. And, if I eat half the baked potato, I feel sated. Mm-hmm. I feel completely satisfied. The minute I start slathering on the butter and the sour cream and all of those different, the fats and the,
it's a boat of goodness.
It becomes a boat of goodness, and it becomes a lot more, the bacon, it becomes a lot more difficult to pump the brakes.
But you're talking whole foods in every case here. You're talking whole foods, right? I mean, most folks are not even eating whole foods.
Yeah.
If I'm eating rich chicken breast with a rich sauce, even if it's hyper palatable, I can only eat so much of that.
Yeah.
The protein kicks in, the real fats kick in, they do their job. That's real food. It's whole food. But we're talking folks who are eating most of their meals out of packages or, getting them like Uber Eats or whatever, like, in tons of seed oil and tons of other stuff. And it's just, that's a tough one.
But I still think most people aren't really aware. They're not really aware of the fact that what you're eating influences to a significant degree how much you subsequently eat. What you eat influences how much you eat. Mm-hmm. And to think about it, to hyperfixate on how much you're eating, in a way, if you're not cognizant of the food quality aspect of things, you're putting the cart before the horse. It's like you alluded to earlier. It's like if you're trying to moderate your consumption of the obesogenic diet that caused your obesity in the first place, you've already lost that battle.
You said once years ago that food is information, and that's, I've always I was like, yep, that's exactly it. So what information are you putting in your mouth in that moment over time? It's information for your body right at that moment too. What am I eating and how much of this am I going to eat? And it's a whole thing. I agree with you. I try to keep my meals really simple. It helps me with my gut isn't always happy. And so at least when I don't feel good, I can put my finger on what I ate.
Yeah.
I eat so simplistically that I'm like, it's boring. People always on Instagram are like, show us your food. I'm like, it's so boring. I'm not much of a chef. It's not very exciting. It's very simple ingredients. I try not to eat more than even whole foods, 3 things at a time. I want to know what I'm eating so that if I get a stomach ache or something doesn't agree with me, I can be like, I know what I ate. And I can go back the last 3 days and put my finger on it. And it's not the most exciting way, but to me, food has always been information. Food is just fuel. And I know for some people it's love and it's community and it's art and it's all these different things. It's not that for me. So I don't pretend to understand that world, and I don't want to speak for those people because I know for some of those people it's very, very challenging to stop eating. But you're right. Keep that hyper palatability. Just keep it simple is what I say.
Yeah. But I also think there's a lot of our societal norms that need to be rewritten in light of current public health statistics. I mean, why does every celebration need to coincide with a cake or cookies
it's
or
sugar fest,
ice cream, or it's a sugar fest and a fat fest. It's both,
And sugar season, it starts in October. Well, it actually starts with watermelon in the summer, but then it starts with candy in October and it goes to the next holiday, to the next holiday. And every single time you enter a regular grocery store, it's like first thing on display all the way up through Easter. Until we get back to, school's out, so let's party again. It's just sugar season. So every October, I'm like, sugar season has begun.
Yeah.
Here we are. And the kids, I don't know. Kids are taught that's love. My mom used to take my daughter to Dairy Queen all the time for everything to celebrate. And I'm like, we don't need to be firing off her dopamine that way. Could we find a different way to do this? And that's a whole other conversation, I realize. But yes, there is a problem with how society views food, views celebration.
Yeah, I don't drink very often. I drink like very seldom, but I'll still indulge in like, a good wine now and then. But I've stopped bringing over wine. It's a customary norm to, if you're invited over to a friend's house for dinner, bring a bottle of wine with you. I now bring a nice fancy bottle of extra virgin olive oil.
Oh, nice.
Because it's like a centerpiece for the table. It's so versatile. You can cook with it. You can
just drink it like I do.
Yeah, it's insanely healthful.
Oh, that's great. That's a great idea. I like that. Normalizing healthy habits. Well, and then going back to just even cooking at home, right? Just learn to cook. I'm not very good at it, but I do it. I mean, it's a necessary part of being healthy. It's just that's another non-negotiable. You have to prepare foods at home.
Have you ever seen these, it's called Kevin's Paleo Foods or something? Kevin's, they said I get them at Whole Foods. They now have them at Costco. They're like these, sous vide pre-cooked chicken and beef with like a little paleo approved sauce that it comes with. It takes literally 5 minutes to cook, and I've made so many dinners with this. I have no affiliation with the brand or anything like that, but it's just a really cool product. It's like super easy to whip up.
Nice.
And it comes with like a sauce that's like doesn't have any added sugar. It's sweetened with like I think a little bit of monk fruit, no seed oils, nothing. It's actually a fairly low fat product, very high protein, and it makes whipping up like a fast dinner a breeze.
Yeah. I mean, there's options.
Yeah. So many. Hey, if you liked that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there.